We are recapping week 1. I stumbled on the intro. That's probably a pretty good way to recap week 1. This is Fantasy Football Today, presented by BetMGM, the sportsbook board in Vegas. Sorry, guys. Little flustered today. There's just so much to talk about here. We're going to look at all the backfield splits. We're going to look at how terrible. Make sure you get a top 9 tight end, Adam tells you, because none of them are going to get 35 yards in week 1. Maybe Laporta, maybe Kittle. But the first 7 that played, none of them even got to 35 yards. Only Kyle Pitts caught a touchdown. Adam, Dave, Jamie, and Heath, we're all here. Okay, I know it's a little sloppy today.
The intro or the football?
Everything. But let's be optimistic. Give me the biggest winner. Jamie, who's the biggest winner this week?
The biggest winner? Josh Allen.
Josh Allen, not even the number 1 quarterback. You know who is?
Derek Carr.
Baker Mayfield with 37 points. Yeah, but Josh Allen's a big winner. Got it done with 2 rushing touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns.
Is he okay?
He says he's fine.
Yeah, man. Just terrifying. Helicoptering his way into the end zone.
Winner for you, Heath.
I went last, so I probably shouldn't say I didn't get any of the top 4 biggest winners. Dave took my top 2 winners, so Dave, go first.
You know how many times
I'll give you one of my winners?
No, I don't care. Just give me a winner. It doesn't matter. Oh, you're overthinking it, guys. We're a little rusty.
I mean, the biggest winner was J.K. Dobbins. I'll steal Jamie's winner. He looked good.
Looked great.
It wasn't quite the original J.K. Dobbins. He would have scored a couple of touchdowns on those long runs instead of later, but no. I know this is the tricky part of it. If you look at the usage of the game, Gus Edwards still had 1 more carry than J.K. Dobbins. But they can't do that anymore. Gus Edwards looks completely washed, and J.K. Dobbins is breaking 50-yard runs. Welcome back.
Dobbins had 60% of the snaps. He played all but 1 of the 14 third down snaps and all 4 of their snaps inside the 10. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Dave, how about you? Got a winner?
I got a winner. Tony Pollard was supposed to be in a 50-50 split with Tyjae Spears, and instead he was the feature back for the Tennessee Titans. Spears working in a third down role, and Pollard did look good. It's nice to see after all the trouble he went through like 2/3 of last year. 62% of the snaps. He did not play much on third downs. Titans did not have any snaps inside the 10, according to what I saw earlier, and Pollard still had a very good game.
Okay, so we got Tony Pollard, we got J.K. Dobbins. I think we learned a little bit about backfield splits, and we're going to talk about that later. That was one of the big storylines coming in. Very interesting what happened with Pittsburgh, where Najee Harris just absolutely dominated the carries. You wonder if Jaylen Warren is still working his way back from the injury. A little bit of Cordero Patterson in there as well. Cincinnati, it was really Zach Moss was a winner in that regard. I know they had a bad game, but Zach Moss scored a touchdown. We already talked about the Chargers. The Cowboys was more Zeke than Dowdle. So we have a whole segment on that. But J.K. Dobbins is a big winner. Josh Allen is a winner. Looking great in week 1. And Dave, you said Tony Pollard. All right. How about a loser, Jamie? Who's a loser?
Titans, Bears, Panthers, Bengals. I mean, there was just awful offenses. It's just across the board. It's hard to single out just one. I guess I'll just start with the last game that I was watching, which was the Browns. So Deshaun Watson sucks.
It's tough to play the Cowboys with both of your starting tackles out. He was running for his life, but it also seemed like one of those where he was running for his life sometimes when he didn't need to be. It was like a slightly better version of Daniel Jones out there. It was bad. It was bad.
169 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. A little bit better than a 50% completion rate.
You said a slightly better version of Daniel Jones, right?
I did say that. You can't get worse. You had 2 quarterbacks right now that have broken the 30-point mark, and maybe Anthony Richardson did in decimal scoring, but in non-decimal, he's at 29. Mayfield, Allen, Richardson, Derek Carr, Jaden Daniels. You got to run the ball. I mean, Allen with 2 rushing touchdowns, Richardson with 56 yards and a touchdown. Jaden Daniels, almost all of his production was rushing, but definitely a lot of disappointing, a lot of bad performances today. Keith, who stood out to you as a loser?
So I like Jamie chose teams. I'll say the Carolina Panthers. And I asked Dave if we should do a hope-o-meter for some of these teams. Like, do we have any hope that I had quite a bit of hope that Dave Canales he had a number 1 overall pick. Things were pretty bad. They added Diontae Johnson as a wide receiver. Chuba Hubbard was pretty good as a rusher last year. They were awful. Awful.
Do you remember when Adam Thielen was the leading receiver for them last season?
I do. Yeah, I remember.
He was again today. He had 3 catches for 49 yards.
Adam, you know who the leading receiver was for the Patriots today?
Yes. Wait, no.
Say it correctly.
Me?
Who was it?
Hoopa!
Oh, it was Austin. Oh, hey, Hoopa. I don't think I have those sound bites anymore. I don't think I would have gotten that
You
one.
don't have the quit playing with yourself, Hoopa.
Quit playing with yourself. I'll see if I have that. Dave, any losers you want to bring up?
Sure. I can bring up a loser. Drake London was someone we all expect. Well, not all, to be fair. He did not, but I expected that Drake London would be a massive focal point of the Falcons offense. And no, that did not happen in the first game of the season. In fact, there was really no good focal point outside of Bijan for Atlanta. Pitts 3 targets, London 3 targets, Mooney 3 targets, Ray McLeod 7 targets. Kirk Cousins looked pretty bad, pretty old. Offensive line was bad. We would never draft Drake London with a top 30 pick after today.
I am a spineless loser. I had Drake London in Dynasty on one team, and I knew I should have traded him this offseason, and I didn't. And now,
well, listen, man. Like
Wow,
we're going to say this about a ton of players for every game. That 1 week does not mean that it's over. We're still going to start Drake.
It doesn't. You are as a flex.
Well, no, certainly as like a number 2-ish wide receiver still.
Jamie, you were the high guy on Drake London. You want to weigh in on this here? Because Drake London.
I'm not panicking yet.
2 catches for 15 yards on 3 targets.
Look, the Steelers have a really good defense.
No question. And Cousins was really, really rough.
Are we cutting Marvin Harrison because he had a bad game? I mean, come on.
Would you? Okay, is there a receiver that you took in round 2 that you would no longer take in round 2? There were a lot of them that were duds. Marvin
after today, no.
London, Olave. No. Would you rather take them in round 3?
Yes, I'd rather have Brandon Cooks than Marvin Harrison. Now you got me.
No, okay, come on.
I think the difference with Drake London is that he played in the NFL for 2 years and never.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so Olave sucks. London sucks.
No, Jamie, you're taking it the wrong way. Is there anything that you saw that? Because I think that you could say Kirk Cousins. We were hoping that he would look better. He comes out 16 of 26, 155 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. And if you knew, or maybe if you saw Kirk Cousins look like this, you would say, okay, I don't think I want to take Drake London in the second round. I think that's a legit question.
It's certainly a legit question, but I'm not going to panic after 1 game.
Would you rather rest of season, Drake London, Mike Evans?
Drake London.
Okay. Listen, I thought that London would have a great year. I'd rather have Evans.
So you're panicking after 1 game.
We went through this with Zeke 1 year. Remember when you and I went back and forth about this after 1 week, and then Zeke was terrible the rest of the year?
Also, like Mike Evans was a top 12 wide receiver last year.
Right.
I don't think it's panicking to say that you would not take
right.
Not reacting at all is different than panicking.
Sure. Panicking would be, I don't want to start Drake London. He's no better than a flex.
Okay.
And he's going to be terrible.
I would like to see what the Falcons would look like against the Commanders and what the Bucs would look like against the Steelers.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's a fair point.
Fair.
Absolutely. I thought it was interesting that Derek Carr had a great game and Chris Olave did nothing. But again, Derek Carr had a great game, but he didn't throw for that many yards. Let's get his numbers here. He only threw 23 times for 200 yards. Chris Olave, 2 targets, 2 catches for 11 yards. That one I'm guessing people aren't going to be too panicked about. We'll talk about some more Megaduds. DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin did nothing today. So we'll get into that. Is there anyone, let me ask you this. Is there anyone that based on today that you would move up or down by more than 1 round?
See, that I think would be panicking.
Dobbins. Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, Dobbins, I would move up by more than
2-round move for anyone? No.
When we go
Probably,
through
but
the
I'm
games,
having a
we'll
hard time
probably come
thinking
up
about it
with
right now.
Okay. All right. We'll think about it as we go along. One name that came to mind was Christian Kirk. I don't know if he goes from like round 6 to round 8.
I mean, they mentioned 100 times about his calf injury today.
Okay.
I would. That Jacksonville was one of the teams, and Pittman in Indianapolis as well. Like Jacksonville ran 47 offensive plays.
Yeah.
I'm not going. That doesn't bother me as much that Kirk saw 4 of 19 targets.
I don't love that Jonathan Taylor didn't get a single target. I don't know. I wouldn't draft him in the 3rd round, but does anybody feel like maybe Jonathan Taylor shouldn't?
That was the other team. Indianapolis, I think, ran 44 offensive plays.
Okay.
Because they threw a couple of 60-yard passes.
Right. Houston had the ball 40 minutes.
40 minutes. Yeah, that's a great point. And Richardson maybe moves up to it. I mean, this guy is.
Yeah.
He's like.
He made some of the worst throws.
I know.
And then doesn't matter. YOLO.
Yeah.
He may have made the best throw of the season for the entire. We may not have to see a better throw than his touchdown pass to Alec Pierce, but he also
Slipped.
made some really bad
He
ones.
slipped. He was about to get hit. It looked like he was just chucking it to wherever, and it turned out to be like very well placed.
Well, this is an instant reaction show on Sunday night. Tomorrow we'll do Beyond the Box Score. That'll be me, Jacob Gibbs, and Dan Schneier. We'll have time to watch some tape and look at some advanced stats and have a different perspective on it. We're going to record that at noon Eastern, youtube.com/fantasyfootball today. It should be in your podcast feed by about 2 p.m. Eastern. We're going to take a break here. We'll talk about Ken Walker, who left with an abdomen injury. Jordan Love could miss 3 to 6 weeks. I guess all things considered wasn't the worst day for injuries, but we do have a couple of big tight end injuries to monitor. We'll be right back after this on Fantasy Football Today.
Well, you need your sports news anywhere?
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
Malik Willis is going to start for the Packers next week against the Colts at home. Jordan Love could miss 3 to 6 weeks. Heath said that on this morning show at 8 a.m., our quick FFT Express show, that he doesn't think he's going to be starting any Packers receivers until Jordan Love is back. And Heath, if I'm wrong about that, you can jump in.
No, those are some guys that I'd probably move down a couple rounds.
Well, there you go.
What are they doing? Just sign Ryan Tannehill already.
All right. You guys feel the same way that you're probably going to start the week with Reed and Watson, et cetera, as sits?
Yes.
Yes.
But I think any receiver in Green Bay that like relies on downfield targets is going to be a disaster. It's the ones that they can manufacture short throws for, and they can do that with everybody. Watson just had a short touchdown. I would expect low A dots all around.
I don't think Malik Willis can make those types of throws.
No, I think Clifford is their starter.
I thought they said Malik Willis was starting next week.
Did they say that? Okay, I was just.
Am I wrong about that?
Go to Clifford.
Okay,
I thought that was the Glazer report. Yes.
Okay, I thought that
it's going to be Willis.
We'll see how it looks for Josh Jacobs. I'm sure he'll be started, but it's not good. We hope Jordan Love comes back. Josh Allen has a hand injury.
The Colts run defense.
Yeah, I know, but like Malik Willis has been.
He's started 3 games and he has not broken triple digits in passing yards yet.
Triple digits.
I'm surprised they're going to him.
That's not. I didn't make that up.
So he's Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right, guys. Let me get through the injuries here. Josh Allen has a hand injury. He says he's fine. Fingers crossed. Hands crossed. Ken Walker left with an abdomen injury, but he says he's fine. Obviously, Zach Charbonnet would see a big boost. Ken Walker dominated touches and snaps before his injury. David Njoku. What's that?
He looked good.
He sure did. David Njoku and Jake Ferguson in that same game, they both left with injuries. David Njoku, I believe it was an ankle. For Ferguson, it was a knee injury. Jerry Jeudy caught his touchdown just a few plays after Njoku left the game. Devon Achane left, but he came, unbelievable. Then he came back. Achane had an encouraging day with all those catches. Arizona right tackle Jonah Williams left with a knee injury in the first half. Jordan Addison, he came into the game with an ankle injury. He left in the third quarter with an ankle injury, and shortly after that, Jalen Naylor caught a touchdown pass. They get the Niners and the Texans next week. DJ Moore left, but he came back. Bills running back Ty Johnson left with a knee injury. He was their third down back, so we'll see about that. That could open things up maybe for Cook or Davis or both. Buffalo defensive back Teron Johnson left with an injury. I mentioned Cleveland was without both starting offensive tackles. The Saints had 3 tight ends working in today. Foster Morrow, Juwan Johnson, who caught a touchdown. Did Morrow catch a touchdown too?
Yep, he did too.
And he had a concussion or a head injury.
Everybody did but Olave.
And Taysom Hill also was there. The Saints also lost Lucas Patrick to a toe injury, a left guard, and Marshawn Lattimore with a hamstring injury. Houston cornerback Jeff Okudah left with an injury. The Commanders almost snapped a streak of 22 straight games without a 100-yard rusher. Jaden Daniels flirted with it, but now it's 23 straight games for the Commanders without a 100-yard rusher. Seattle backup tackle George Fant left with an injury. He was starting today, and Josh Palmer got ejected. And if you have not signed up for the BetMGM app, come on, people, sign up. Use the bonus code FANTASY on the BetMGM app, and you're going to get up to a $1,500 first bet offer. Wow. On your first wager with BetMGM. That's pretty generous. And here's how it works. You download the BetMGM app and you sign up using the bonus code FANTASY. Deposit at least $10. Place your first wager on any game. You're going to receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use the bonus code FANTASY when you sign up. Okay, anybody want to go for an early waiver wire stab here?
Early waiver wire?
Have you thought about it yet?
I mean, we just lost 2 tight ends, and Isaiah Likely just had 1 billion catches for 1,000 billion yards and 15 touchdowns minus a toe. So he's going to be the most added player.
And I think Baker's probably the most added quarterback going to Detroit next week after throwing 4 touchdowns.
And he lit them up in the playoffs. Baker Mayfield in his last 7 games of last season, including 2 playoff games, he averaged 27 points per game and 6 point per passing touchdowns. Today, he scored 37 points per game. Might be something there. Would you okay, just people are going to ask, should I drop Caleb Williams for Baker Mayfield?
If that's your only quarterback, probably.
Yeah, I would drop somebody to add Baker Mayfield and try to hold Caleb Williams if I could.
The one thing I hesitate on is that Baker did this against Washington, kind of going back to what we talked about earlier. And Washington,
he's playing Coors Field.
I think it'll be favorable for him against Detroit. And then after that, it's Denver, Philadelphia after that. Like, I don't see a really difficult matchup anytime soon for Baker. So I kind of get it. I don't hate the idea of cutting Caleb in a redraft league. If he's the one you cut, you cut.
A day ago. And this is what we were just talking about with overreacting to second round receivers. A day ago, if somebody said, should I cut Caleb Williams for Baker Mayfield, you would have thrown hot coffee in their face.
No, because that's going to lead to a lawsuit.
I would have yelled at them for drafting Caleb Williams without a second quarterback, because everybody on this show said if you're going to draft Caleb Williams, draft a second quarterback.
Yeah, Adam, you did this a lot, right? You drafted Caleb and Purdy, I know, a few times, right?
It was not a good week for me in quarterback land. A lot of Caleb and Burrow. That was a big
Caleb and Burrow. So as a Caleb Williams manager, if you have Caleb and Purdy in a redraft league, do you feel the need to make a move yet? Forget about what may happen tomorrow night.
I tell you what, man, I could see it because I looking at Caleb's schedule, it's not great. It looks like there's going to be some growing pains.
And Purdy's got a terribly difficult matchup against the Purple People Eaters next week. We saw how good that defense is today.
Yeah. They might be good, but obviously you're somewhat joking. But I would, if I need a win, if I'm 0-1, I don't want to go 0-2. Yeah, I think it's okay.
I think it totally depends on your situation. And that's the end of the story. And if you are willing to wait out Caleb as your number 2 QB, you can wait with him. I don't think it's a big mistake to hold on to him.
Yeah.
But if you're panicking a little at quarterback, Baker's a great one.
Okay. Any other waiver wire guy? Obviously, Justice Hill will be on there.
Alexander Madison.
Rashid Shaheed, maybe. I know he didn't have a lot of targets. Well, he tied for the team lead with 5 targets, 3 catches.
Well, I mean, look, leagues that run waivers on Tuesday, Charbonnet is going to be added like crazy because we're not going to know Walker status in full. You mentioned Justice Hill. I think Emmanuel Wilson will be added. Mm-hmm. Just with what he did Friday night as the backup to Jacobs, even though the quarterback situation is going to be a little shaky.
Bucky Irving and Tank Bigsby were both better rushers than the starters in their backfields.
Yeah, look, you're going to get a lot of those guys getting cycled through waivers in and out. Marshawn Lloyd will get dropped.
Tyrone Tracy
will get dropped. Ray Davis will get dropped. Those kind of guys will get dropped. Kamani Vidal will get dropped. So they're going to have a lot of those end of roster players are going to get dropped in several leagues. I'm trying to think. There's like Brandon Cooks is not 100% rostered. He'll be picked up quite a bit.
Okay. All right. And let's go to some winners and losers. All right, Dave, you've got Rhamondre, Stevenson, and Tony Pollard. You talked about Tony Pollard. He was only started in 29% of leagues. Yeah. Pollard will get the Jets next week, though. But Stevenson, so Nathan Yankee, I believe it's pronounced, for PFF, does a great job tracking snaps and splits and things like that. He said Rhamondre Stevenson played 80% of the snaps, which was more than in any game last year. I would just wonder if that has something to do with Antonio Gibson coming into the game injured. But 25 carries, 3 catches for Rhamondre Stevenson in a win at Cincinnati. So he's a big winner for you.
Dominated the snaps inside the 10, which I think that we would have certainly expected. But 11 of 15 snaps on third downs, that was nice to see. And listen, I was worried about the offensive line being a factor for Rhamondre. And I checked this before the show. Remember the big deal they made about, well, we're going to run more outside zone with Rhamondre. And then Rhamondre really didn't do that well with outside zone. Today, he averaged less than 3 yards per carry doing outside zone, but inside zone, 3 carries, almost 10 yards per carry. So whatever it is, he seemed to just get going, and he got the opportunities. Everybody in a survivor pool this week thought Cincinnati would wipe the mat with New England, and Cincinnati let him hang around. And because they let him hang around, Rhamondre got a lot of work. And maybe this Patriots team isn't as bad as we made him out to be. And maybe Rhamondre Stevenson warrants must-start status.
I don't think Cincinnati let them hang around. I think the Patriots let Cincinnati hang around.
But
that's a great way to put it, too.
Just to bring this up, so Jamar Chase was playing through food poisoning. T. Higgins didn't play. But also, I said this on the show on Thursday. Cincinnati had the worst. They were the worst defense in yards per play last year. Last in the NFL. They had a terrible run defense. And they lost DJ Reader. This was actually, I think, an easy matchup for Rhamondre Stevenson. His next 3 opponents are Seattle, the Jets, and San Francisco. Just want to throw that out there.
He's a great sell high candidate, for sure.
There you go.
Yeah, which running back ahead of him struggled? Like they all were pretty good today, right?
Which running back ahead of him struggled? Well, I don't think anybody's going to give you Bijan Robinson for Rhamondre Stevenson. Maybe a package. But
there's no like buy low running back that went ahead of him. You could obviously trade him for a different position. Just thinking right now through it. It was a pretty good week.
ETN?
Eric Henry? ETN? Okay. All right. Heath, your win.
Barkley's bad.
Brian Robinson and Brock Bowers.
Oof.
Go ahead, Heath.
Brock Bowers led the Raiders in targets. Like I should just put Brock Bowers and then Devontae Adams on the losers, but 8 targets for Bowers, caught 6 of them. Probably a top 5 tight end this week based on how the position was, and didn't score a touchdown. And there was a point early in the fourth quarter that I just looked at the box score for the Commanders game, and Austin Eckler had 1 rush and 1 reception.
Yes, I saw the same thing.
Complete dominance earlier in this. And then later in the game when it wasn't as competitive, they chopped it up a little bit. But this is Brian Robinson's backfield.
Yes, anybody that invested in Brian Robinson should come away from this game feeling good, because this was not an easy matchup either. So the fact that he was involved in the passing game was great. Got the short yardage touchdown was great. I didn't think he was going to have a great game, but this was certainly exceeded my expectations for his production. And like you said, Heath, the work in the passing game is really the biggest takeaway. I do think the thing with Bowers, I texted you guys this last night. Our guy Tom Spencer from CBS, he talked about a couple things in the meetings with the coaches, or he relayed a couple of things in his meetings with the coaches, that they wanted to be more versatile in their passing game and get more diversity. And so this is probably a bad sign for Devontae Adams if this is going to happen, and that they wanted to see the versatility of Brock Bowers. So those were 2 things that came to play in their first game.
And for Brian Robinson, just another thing to say is that this is going to be an issue for him, because Jaden Daniels did have 2 goal line touchdowns, but some of those could go to Brian Robinson. And Brian Robinson actually came up a half a yard short of a receiving touchdown. The next play was a Jaden Daniels rushing touchdown.
He also got stacked up on he had a rush attempt from the 1.
Yeah. So it was good to see them move the ball, and he was
He's DeAndre Swift.
Jamie's winners are J.K. Dobbins, who we talked about, and Stefon Diggs, who had 2 touchdowns today. And from what I saw, Dave, I don't know if you want to check it, double check it. He played 70% of the snaps from the slot, Stefon Diggs. He was their slot receiver.
Yeah, we knew that.
Yeah, but that is a high percentage. That's one of the highest in the NFL if he did that for a full season.
Yeah, but that's what he was doing in a little bit in the preseason. That's what we figured that he would be doing. We talked about that when they traded for him.
All right, 7. Okay, fine. Forget I said anything. JB, Stefon Diggs a winner for you.
So, I mean, we're going to get this, probably a lot where there's, 2 of the guys being productive. I mean, obviously 33 yards receiving isn't great for him, but he did catch all 6 of his targets. And there's not going to just be weeks where all 3 of these guys are producing at a high level. And so this week it was Diggs in the end zone. It was Nico over 100 yards receiving. It was Tank Dell just unfortunately falling short. So just understand that moving forward, that you can still consider all 3 of these guys as, starters. I still love Collins the most by a significant margin, but I actually liked all 3 coming into the week. I think I had all 3 in my top 24, if not one was 25th. I wrote about Diggs and start sit being a start just because, you show off the shiny new toy in this game. And so it was good to see him find the end zone twice. This is obviously not something you want to hope for when you're only getting 33 yards receiving, but for 1 week, Diggs delivered. And this is another guy I would say is a sell high candidate, so if you're looking to, acquire some of these receivers that people are panicking on, Diggs' name still carries a lot of weight, so if you can turn Neighbors or London or Olave or trying to think what else we discussed in that range, those 2nd round and 3rd round receivers, I would do so in a heartbeat.
The number is 55%. That's the percentage of routes he ran from the slot today.
Yep. Just saw that. 55% out of the slot, but also a 1.5 yard ADOT for Stefon Diggs.
Yep.
1.5, slightly better than Zay Flowers from week 1.
I'm going to see how many of those was there did he even get an ADOT of 10 yards on any of his throws? I'm just checking to see.
And that's the thing is I think, like Jamie said it best, it's going to be, because you look at the targets, it was 8 for Nico, 7 for Dell, 6 for Diggs.
Right.
Like they're going to be in that same range every week, I think, and 2 of them are going to be good.
He had a target that went -10 air yards today.
They all ran basically the same amount of routes, right around 32 routes each. Okay, losers. Heath had Carolina as a loser. Now, obviously, they were down huge in the first half, so that threw everything off. But, do you trust Chuba Hubbard or Diontae Johnson against the Chargers next week?
I'm not starting a Carolina Panther next week. And until a Carolina Panther shows me that they should be started, I'm not starting any of them. Xavier Legette led the team in targets, and Adam Thielen led the team in receiving yards. Chuba Hubbard had 1 more rush attempt than Miles Sanders, but 0 targets. They threw it twice to Miles Sanders instead. Not starting any of them.
And then the Giants was your other loser team. And Neighbors was okay. 5 catches for 6. He went over his player prop. 5 catches for 66
like
yards.
almost exactly what I said on this morning. Like was the thing that could make nobody victory lap Malik Neighbors was what happened. Like 5 for 66. It's just a complete train wreck. I hope that they can get Drew Lock some first team snaps and that maybe he can be okay, because it was a disaster today for them. There's nothing in the run game. And for most of the game, Minnesota just had 2 guys on Neighbors.
Mm-hmm. Definitely in the red zone. You saw that.
Right. And if you do that,
They were in the red zone?
They were.
They were
after a fumble.
Kidding.
I mean, I think that's like pretty much the
No,
only.
there's some teams that did not get any snaps inside.
DJ Ham fumbled a catch, right?
Yep. Yes, he did. I thought the Giants, hey, we might win this game.
Giants actually had 6 snaps inside the 10.
Yeah, they're horrible. Jones has always been pretty bad, except 1 year, and he's the worst he's ever been. It was that way during training camp, according to the reports and the highlights, and it was that way during the preseason, and he's just playing worse than he ever has. Dave's losers are Chase Brown
and Drake London.
Okay, let's talk about Chase Brown. 3 carries, 3 catches, 23 total yards, and a lot of Zach Moss today.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Zach Moss played almost 2/3 of the snaps. He dominated 3rd downs. He had both their snaps inside the 10. Chase Brown, who the team hyped up, the writers hyped up, and so in turn we hyped him up, ended up doing bupkis. I'm going to have a hard time starting Chase Brown until we see something from him. They play
But
Kansas
don't drop
City
him.
next
He's
week.
not one of
and
these
that's
guys to
gonna be
drop.
gross.
He's not a drop. You say, Jamie.
Agreed. Not a drop.
Yeah, I again, my whole argument, part of my argument for Chase Brown was that Zach Moss has a hard time staying healthy. Dave did a great job illustrating this when he was in Buffalo. Utah, he was injured. Buffalo, he was injured. Last year, he didn't get injured, but he was a future
He was
guy.
hurt last year.
Huh?
He
He
missed
got
time
hurt
with
last year.
we missed
Okay,
time with
what-
arm
what-
injury last year. Yeah.
Yep. So it's just unfortunately part of his profile. So if he stays healthy and can overcome that, he's probably going to be a really good fantasy option, especially where his value ended up. But I still would just hold on to Chase Brown for now.
I don't know what you guys make of it, though. In the preseason, the Tennessee backfield, they played their starters, and those guys basically alternated series. We didn't get to see the starters for the Bengals because the one game that they did play their starter, Zach Moss, was sick. But everything in training camp, and then there was a report like just a few days before the season started that they were going to be pretty interchangeable with their roles. And even the Titans coaches were saying, we go back to the Titans, they were going to be interchangeable with their roles. Pittsburgh, we've never seen anything like this. Based on last year, based on the preseason, this was a wild, heavy Najee Harris distribution that was pretty surprising.
But that reminded me of just typical Mike Tomlin.
In what regard? Of getting the
Always
feature
using one guy.
But it wasn't as bold as the snap share would suggest. Like what percentage of snaps do you think Najee played today?
65.
58.
So
Warren was in
my
on
question is-
29% and
my
Cordero
question is-
Patterson 14%.
What do you buy, or do you want to see more? You want to see another week or two from all of these situations before we jump to any conclusions?
I think it comes down to like what your lineup looks like, right? Because if you have to start these guys, let's say you drafted both Titans or both Bengals or both Steelers, which could have been realistic based on where they were going, who you're playing next week. Like there'd be no reason to play the guy who didn't play as much or touch the ball as much.
Yeah, I'm mostly like Najee is still a borderline RB2, but Warren's kind of in that I'm going to have to see something. I'm not going to start him the week after they give him 3 or 4 touches, and Cordero Patterson has twice as many carries as him.
Okay,
I think for him, it's kind of obvious. It was the hamstring. Like,
probably, right? I mean, he's Jalen Moore. He's got a role for them.
it would be
Well, he
shocking,
played 30% of the snaps.
but it would be shocking if this is the norm moving forward.
What about the Bengals? Because if you're going to tell me that Zach Moss is the third down back and the short yardage back, the lead running, like that's big news. You talk about a guy who could move up 2 rounds. That's big news if we buy it going forward.
You can buy
think
it,
it is.
but I don't know how many games you're going to get out of it.
So the injury factor is the injury factor. But if you're telling me that when he's healthy, this is his role, he's close to a must-start running back, isn't he, Zach Moss?
Yeah, I don't know if he's a must-start running back, but he's in the flex conversation. We don't have any bye weeks right now. So I said this last week. I was not the biggest proponent of James Conner and Aaron Jones, but when they're healthy and the matchup is positive,
Yeah.
you're starting those guys. And I think it's the same thing with Moss.
All right, Jamie, your losers were the Bears and the Titans.
Yeah, pick a player, anyone you want.
What do you think happened with DeAndre Swift?
Sucks. Next.
Let me get
What about Pollard?
Sucks. Next. No, he was good.
DeAndre Swift DeAndre Swift had 10 carries. Khalil Herbert had 2.
There was at one point where DeAndre Swift had 8 carries for 6 yards. Like, I was nervous about him going into the game. I didn't expect this. So
Yeah.
Dave and I sort of differed on it, I think, on CBS Sports Network. And I will say this. The Bears defense is really good. The Titans defense showed you that they're going to be good. Now, this could be Caleb Williams struggling, but I assumed, we'll say correctly for one game, that the secondary was going to be dramatically improved. L'Jarius Sneed, Awuzie, Diggs, defense coordinator who, stresses, playing more aggressive press man coverage, those type of things. They all played itself out today. But so did Caleb Williams. So it's hard to say that the Titans defense is all of a sudden fixed. There was a rookie quarterback making his first start. No matter how many great weapons he has, all those things, he was going to struggle to some extent, and he did. The Titans really, really struggled. I mean, Will Levis looked like crap. And, he's going to get better, I hope. They shouldn't have lost the game. First of all, it's like one of the worst losses that you can look at from a team that was playing with a lead, blowing that lead. Hopkins, I'm sure, is not 100%. Ridley is not going to be fantastic, but he's going to be better than this. And to Dave's point, Pollard comes out of this, a significant winner because not only did he produce well, he seemed to have distanced himself a little bit from Spears. And just in terms of, and I know you're gonna say, Adam, the playing time and everything they said, but he distanced himself in the last preseason game where they played together, and he distanced himself a little bit more today. So it's not to
argue with that. No,
it's not to run away from Spears, but he just did. So, but just in terms of these two teams, they're going to have better days. I think it's really just a credit that these are two good defenses that we don't really talk about enough, or at least we didn't talk about enough. We gave them some, the Titans may be better, and the Bears finished last season strong. They're going to be really good. And so you just see the potential. Bears secondary could be fantastic with the 3 corners that they have. Again, Titans secondary better. The Titans up front, the middle of their defense is hugely improved with not just the tackles, but Ernest Jones being there also. Like they both did a good job this offseason of Bears enhancing, Titans overhauling, and looking a lot better today.
Whenever the Titans have Jeffrey Simmons, they're one of the toughest run defenses in football. So the fact that Swift really dominated the carries is not such a bad. At least the running back carries. There were a lot of guys who had carries in this game, but he had 10 of them. Keenan Allen dropped a touchdown and was wide open for a deep touchdown, and Caleb Williams made a terrible throw, and Keenan Allen ends up leading the team in targets with 11. So we were kind of
on pace where he was a year ago.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, I think, is this actually an encouraging day for Keenan Allen?
More for him than for the other guys.
Yeah, DJ Moore, 8 targets, Keenan Allen, 11, Romo Dunze.
But do you really want Keenan Allen running deep routes? Like, that's not.
I don't know if that was how many deep routes he ran, but
he definitely had the one. You said he was wide open.
He had 11 targets. That's pretty
I'll
good.
look it up. Hold on.
And this good when Caleb Williams throws for 93 yards.
Another guy like Hopkins, I could see getting dropped. I don't think people will auto drop him, essentially. Odunze is going to be an interesting one if people are going to panic on him.
I would say don't. The hard case I have for holding Hopkins is that he's like, it's not like he has something that's going to heal, right? He's just trying to play the season on a torn MCL.
Might be that, yeah.
Was it torn?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I don't know how he ever gets better. Like I wouldn't drop Rhamondre for at least 6 weeks, probably.
Feels like you'd be dropping him for somebody like, I don't know, Peyton Barber, maybe.
Oh boy.
Right. But I might drop DeAndre Hopkins next week.
2 of his 11 targets were deep.
All right, guys, we got to take a break here. We got Megaduds and all the games to recap and the leaderboard. We got a lot to get to as we recap week 1.
We didn't get to the Megaduds yet? What have we been talking about?
I mean, I still have some more. We haven't even talked about Marvin Harrison, Javonte Williams, Terry McLaurin. All right, we'll be right back with the Megaduds after this.
Mr. Richard?
Yeah, Doc.
Unfortunately, Mr. Nibbles crossed the Rainbow Bridge moments ago.
He was the best hamster I have ever known.
I know this is a difficult time for you, but would you happen to know of any deep stash dynasty tight ends I could zero in on for my draft tonight?
Jatavion Sanders.
Thank you. I'm sorry for your loss.
So it is sad that we've talked about all these players and we haven't gotten to the Megadud segment yet. But when we look at the tight ends, I mentioned 7 of the top 9 tight ends had played by the time we started. And as we record this podcast, I don't think Sam Laporta has a catch. He doesn't. Jared Goff has completed 1 pass so far out of 1 attempt.
They've had 1 possession.
Colby Parkinson has 2, though.
Oh, okay. So
guy, Dave, look at you.
I know. Cup has 5 catches.
Before that's can we do one thing?
Yeah.
We should apologize to Tyler Lockett.
We don't
for the 18th year in a row. Tyler Lockett, underrated, just completely dissed. Please go away, Tyler Lockett. Has more targets than DK and JSN combined, more catches than DK and JSN combined, more yards than DK and JSN combined.
Yeah, and not healthy.
It's amazing.
Oh, are you guys worried about any of the tight ends?
No.
Nope. My son was panicking, though. Dalton Kincaid's doing nothing. Am I cutting him? I said, only if you want to make other teams in your league better.
Replay the show from Friday when we talked about Andrews and Kelsey and everything we said.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
So Isaiah Likely's on waivers, and you win him. There's none of the top 9 tight ends that you're starting him over this week?
Well, one might be hurt, so Ferguson might not play.
Njoku might be hurt.
Two of the top 10, if you want to go by ADP. Njoku.
Oh, I've got to rerun the poll. I ran the poll Friday morning of would you rather have Likely or Dalton Kincaid rest of season, and it was 82% for Dalton Kincaid.
Right.
I'm going to guess today, if I run it right now, it's going to be a little different.
Well,
yeah, no, I mean, Ingram, no.
What the hell happened with Ingram? One catch? Did he have one target in this game?
4.
Oh, he had 4. Okay, one catch. But another thing,
They're tied for the team lead in Jacksonville.
They threw 21 passes. They ran 45 plays.
I got them as 50 plays.
Yeah.
Okay. I got them at 47.
You're off, Heath. How dare you?
I might have missed some sacks.
Yes, 3 sacks. That's the difference.
All right, so you're not worried about the tight ends. Are you worried about Javonte Williams? He had fewer carries than Jaleel McLaughlin. The third down snaps were pretty split. Javonte had a terrible game, 23 total yards and 9 touches.
Not yet.
Nope, not yet. He still played 11 of 18 third downs. He played their only snap inside the 10. 52% of the snaps, though, is not what we were hoping for. We were hoping to get him north of 60. And maybe just game script took them out of it because they were behind by 2 scores well into the second half.
I don't know how you can't be a little worried about Javonte Williams. I mean,
I'm worried.
Okay, thank you.
Just because the Broncos should have been on our list of the Panthers and the Giants and all the other terrible teams. Like, I actually watched this thinking we should have apologized to Russell Wilson. Can't believe he threw 26 touchdown passes in this offense.
Marvin Harrison, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin.
Another snap this season.
What?
Does Russell Wilson play another snap this season?
Yes.
Oh, he starts week 2 if he's healthy.
You think he starts week 2?
Oh, hell yeah. Why? You thought Justin Fields was good?
I don't think Justin Fields did anything to lose a job.
See how many sacks he took, because every time it went over, he was taking a sack.
He took 2.
He took 2, yeah. No, there were 10 sacks that got called back on penalty. I don't know. I didn't think Justin Fields is very good, but I would guess that he starts week 2.
His efficiency was not very good.
Okay, sorry. Got sidetracked. Tell me if you're worried about these wide receivers. Marvin Harrison Jr., 1 catch on 4 yards. You can see the viral clip of him being wide open for what would have been the game-winning touchdown. Kyler didn't see him. DK Metcalf, every time I watched him, Surtain was on him, except for maybe 1 snap. So I'm going to guess that was a shadowing situation. 3 catches, 29 yards for Metcalf. McLaurin, 4 targets, which was actually tied for the team lead. 2 catches, 17 yards for McLaurin. Jaden Daniels threw for 184 yards. Olave, 2 catches for 11 yards. Derek Carr threw for 200 yards. Amari Cooper, 9 targets, was wide open for a deep touchdown in garbage time and just couldn't haul it in. Christian Kirk, 1 catch for 30 yards on 4 targets. All of these guys had quarterbacks who threw for, I think, almost positive. I don't know about Lawrence. 200 or fewer yards. I would say Lawrence was 200 or fewer, right? Lawrence was 100.
He was under 200, yeah.
All of these guys had had low performance quarterbacks today. So are you worried about Marvin Harrison, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, Chris Olave, Amari Cooper, or Christian Kirk?
No. McLaurin would be the only one just because with the way Daniels plays, they're going to be games like this.
Yeah. Like, I think
you put Pittman in there too or no?
I did not put Pittman in there. Sorry, I should have put Pittman in there.
And like Pittman, I'm not.
There's your one time.
I think 8 of 19 targets from Richardson. I think Pittman will be okay. Cooper, I don't care about going 2 for 9 targets. He had the 9 targets. I'm going to be a little lower on Marvin Harrison this week than I was in week 1
against the Rams. In general, I think that's probably a good idea.
I'm not reacting a lot, but I'm reacting a little bit to volume and not at all to efficiency.
Super fair point, because this is something that I thought would happen immediately, was that Marvin Harrison would be the guy and the number 1 receiver. And he wasn't even the number 2 receiver.
You know,
we need to go back and see, though, how much of this game did Buffalo try and take him away? Now, that will make it worse for me. Like, if he wasn't getting double teamed and he still didn't get anything, that's a problem.
Well, listen, he's too nice. If you saw Hard Knocks, he's too nice, but we need the squeaky crickets. We need the squeaky wheel game. We're not going to get it after 1 game from Marvin Harrison, but hopefully there's we got to get Marvin Harrison involved kind of deal. All right. I think we've covered most of the backfields. Buffalo, I mentioned Ty Johnson played 6 snaps on third down. No other running back for the Bills played more than 1, but Ty Johnson did get hurt. Zach Moss dominated. Devon Achane, he and Mostert played a similar amount of snaps, but Achane 7 catches, 10 carries, got the touchdown. Definitely was used better.
He was one of the guys who I felt like, man, I like just watching Mostert. I wish I'd drafted a little more Achane.
Sure. Achane played a lot of snaps and obviously was a huge factor in the passing game. And he made some awesome plays. The short yardage touchdown, everybody kind of freaked out about, he's getting short yardage goal line carries. He was down. He had like a 9-yard run that downed him right at the 1. And so the very next play, they gave him the ball and he scored on it. 9 of 16 on third downs, 2 snaps inside the 5, 54% of the snaps. Looked good, looked really good. And I got a quote from Jonathan Gannon on Marvin Harrison.
Go ahead.
He told after the game, he told, I guess this is the team reporter or the radio reporter, they were clouding him when they were playing shell. They were playing forms of cloud to him, 2-man to him, swiping to him. Credit to Buffalo there. And then he was just a little bit more general about it with reporters saying, we had a bunch of guys catch balls, so that's how our offense is going to be built. The ball should go where it should go, depending on the coverage.
Thought there was too much James Conner.
I mean, are we sitting here surprised that Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors were double teamed?
We shouldn't be. No,
they have to be able to beat the double team. Of course, they're going to get double teamed.
And in time, I don't know about Neighbors, but listen, the Cardinals offense was operating very well with Harrison being double teamed. Eventually, teams are going to lose against them if they keep doing that.
And I think Neighbors will start to benefit from some garbage time production.
Yeah, but I hate counting on that with him.
I thought it would happen today. I tweeted about it like late in the third quarter. They didn't throw him a pass in the fourth.
No, they didn't. Some almost touchdowns. Tyreek Hill was wide. Almost touchdowns are almost big plays. He was wide open for a deep ball, possibly a touchdown. Tua missed him. Keenan Allen, I mentioned he was missed twice, or he dropped one and he was missed once. Amari Cooper, I mentioned. Brian Thomas drew a pass interference penalty in the end zone, so he could have had an even bigger day.
He torched Ramsey.
Yes.
Yeah, Ramsey was clearly not healthy, right? I mean, he was playing through an injury. Mike Gesicki had a touchdown overturned, and then right after that, Tanner Hudson almost scored a touchdown, receiving touchdown, but he fumbled at the 1. So that was 2 plays in a row, I think, or maybe 2 out of 3, where Burrow nearly had a touchdown. Adonai Mitchell was open for 2 touchdowns, and Anthony Richardson missed them both.
No Ashton Doolin.
I think I saw a replay of this one. You guys might have to correct me if I'm wrong, but George Pickens, who had 6 for 85 today, he had a deep ball completion that was called back on a bad offensive pass interference penalty. What I saw, nobody can confirm that. All right, maybe the chat can. Let's see. Josh Allen missed MVS wide open on a deep ball. Jalen McMillan, he caught a touchdown today, rookie receiver for the Bucs. He only had 3 targets, but he had 2 plays. Wait, I think he drew a pass interference, and I think he was open on a deep ball. He could have had some big plays.
He had a bad drop too.
Okay, maybe it was that. Josh Palmer had a bad drop in the end zone. That would have been
Yes, he did.
Ken Walker had a touchdown called back on holding, and that's pretty much it. All right, let's get into the games finally. We'll go quickly on these. How about Friday night? Philadelphia and Green Bay. Philadelphia 34, Green Bay 29. Heath, would you like to do the Believe It or Not this year?
I don't think so. I'm not writing that article anymore.
Okay.
We talked about the Packers wide receivers. My Believe It or Not would have been you should not start any Packers pass catchers until Jordan Love comes back.
All right, believe it or not, Saquon Barkley was justified as a top 8 pick in average draft position.
Yes, I believe it. How could you not believe that, Adam?
I didn't say I didn't believe it.
How could anyone say that they wouldn't believe it? Like, what more would you need to see from Saquon Barkley and how he was utilized, how that line blocked for him eventually, and how I thought he looked great.
Top 8 is a little tough, though.
If I was going to make the case against it, I'd say the Packers have had a terrible run defense each of the last 2 years, and he still didn't really have a big role in the passing game, and they were showing off their new toy in the red zone.
It's weird. I don't want to overreact, but I just feel like I would take.
I gotta go. See you guys
Later, James.
I'd take him over Jonathan Taylor now, and that was not the case.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
I was
that's
just
not
playing
a
devil's
true
advocate.
round move, but that's going to be a maybe a 2-spot move.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would redraft him as a top 10 player at minimum.
Okay. I don't know if there's anything else. The stars were shining in this game. We'll talk about Josh Jacobs maybe a little bit more in later in the week. We can evaluate him with a new quarterback. And
I can
Devontae,
give you my notes on him now if you want.
no, I just want to know what you think about him without Jordan Love.
Oh, it's going to be tough. The offensive line didn't play well for much of the game for Green Bay. And now it's going to be so much easier for teams to stack the box, knowing that Malik Willis isn't going to be a major threat unless they just completely bust coverage. He also had 15 yards wiped out by penalties.
New England 16, Cincinnati 10. Believe it or not, you don't need to roster any Patriots wide receiver.
Yeah, I believe that.
Believe it.
Not until May starts for them and shows signs of life with them.
Believe it or not, you should rank Rhamondre Stevenson, James Conner, and Aaron Jones for me right now.
Rest of season or
Rest
this
of
week?
season?
Rest of season. This week. You mean week 2?
Yeah.
Okay, rest of season.
Connor's still going to be at the top of the list for me. I will probably put Rhamondre over Jones.
I'll go Stevenson, Connor, Jones.
Okay. I think we're pretty good here. I mean, obviously, we just Chase and Burrow, horrible today, but better times ahead.
I would hope so.
Much better times ahead.
Chase really didn't do anything in the first half. It's almost like Burrow went up to him at halftime and was like, dude, I know you're upset and I know you're not feeling well. We need you in the second half. And what you got was I want to say 5 catches in the second half. I don't know if anybody cares for me to go and look, but I can look.
It's going to be really interesting if are we going to do another week of this? Is he going to be there at practice on Wednesday?
He had 2 catches for 7 yards at the half.
I mean, I am under the assumption Jamar Chase, you see the numbers here, 6 for 62 on 6 targets, has accepted the fact that he's probably not getting his contract. He said he's willing to play without it. And hopefully he's just good to go now. He had food poisoning, so that's why he was listed with an illness. Obviously, it was a tough circumstance for him. And don't feel like I need to pick anybody up to replace T. Higgins, although Yoshivas did have 6 targets. Okay, Buffalo 34, Arizona 28. It was weird. It's the way that Kyler Murray was playing early in the game. It looked like he was set up for a big game, but he only had 16.2 fantasy points and 6 point per passing touchdown leagues. Buy or sell Mike Evans over Marvin Harrison Jr. rest of season. I mean, believe it or not, Mike Evans over, completely different game. Mike Evans over Harrison.
I think it's really close. I can't help but think that eventually Marvin Harrison will start to emerge in a major way.
Not rest of season, but yes, week 2.
Are you encouraged by James Cook? 20 touches, 19 carries. And he was in, I don't think they really had a lot of goal line stuff, but he was definitely in there inside the 10-yard line.
I'll tell you. But he
actually had 22 touches.
To work for them.
He had 22 touches.
Caught
he
3
did.
passes.
Yeah.
19 carries, 3 catches, played only 60% of the snaps, but 4 or 5 snaps inside the 10. Ty Johnson played more on third downs than James Cook did. I thought Cook looked great. I think he got some great blocking from his line. I don't think the Cardinals defense is very good.
This was you hope that he's going to score more than 4 touchdowns, but this is pretty much what I think you should expect. Between 18 and 22 touches, right around 100 yards every week. He's going to score you 13 points on the weeks he doesn't score a touchdown, and he's going to score you 20 when he does.
Right. It's like a little bit of a shade from what we saw toward the end of the season with him when he started to get run down a little bit. His averages dipped a little bit. And that's what you can see just from looking at the box score. But I thought he looked pretty good overall.
So I think all of us had just got a Jake Ferguson update. Not believed to have suffered an ACL tear.
That's good.
Okay.
Yeah. So
all of us had what?
All of us had Patrick Mahomes ahead of Josh Allen, right? I know
In
I did.
our rankings?
Yeah.
I don't think Heath did. Or maybe Heath did.
No, I mean season, not week 1. Preseason.
Jamie had Josh Allen 1.
We did not.
I had Mahomes. Who would you rather have after one game, Mahomes or Allen?
Still Mahomes. Look, there wasn't a receiver with more than 51 yards. Allen's 2 rushing touchdowns are what really paced him to have a great day. Finished with 4 total. I don't know how often he's going to have 2 rushing touchdowns in the same game.
And it is one of those situations like we were saying with London versus Evans, where what if Josh Allen had played the Ravens and Mahomes had played the Cardinals?
Yeah. I mean, next week he plays Miami, so everybody's a step up from Arizona. Not everybody, but
I feel like he usually scores like 1 million fantasy points against Miami. But
I mean, you tell me when his next big test is. At Miami, and it's on a short week, and it's on the road. Jacksonville at home in week 3. At Baltimore in week 4. At Houston in week 5. At the Jets in week 6.
right there, Baltimore, Houston, and the Jets, 3 straight games on the road. All right.
Yeah, really curious to see how he does in those games.
Saints
Gonna start
47, Panthers 10. Okay, Saints 47, Panthers 10.
Is there anything left to talk about from this game?
Could talk about Kamara. He had 15 carries and 5 catches. Jamal Williams got almost all of his work in garbage time.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good day. It should have been a good day for Kamara. And he got a goal line touchdown. He had a 1-yard touchdown run.
He had all 4 of their snaps inside the 5.
Yeah, it was a good day for him. It was a good day for the top 18 running backs that we talked so much about. I mean, not everyone was good,
Not
but you
all
have to say, for the most part, pretty good.
Yeah. No, it's great to see he's still getting a lot of targets. Even better to see that he was working inside the 5 and that Taysom Hill wasn't bogarting touchdowns from him. All that hubbub about Taysom Hill, and he caught 1 pass, 2 targets.
I think we did have 5 carries. They were pretty early in the game. I think Taysom Hill, that is. We should probably say first game with Kubiak as offensive coordinator.
Big success.
It was great.
Wild success.
Yeah, we'll see where it
But
goes.
it's also against Carolina. And this isn't going to be this is a defense that's probably worse than Arizona.
At
1
Dallas
sack.
next week.
New Orleans had the ball for almost 37 minutes. It was just, this might be the best it gets for Derek Carr all year.
Houston 29.
Wait, hold on. He
27.
plays Carolina again. What week? Week 9. Maybe it'll be better then.
Houston 29, Indianapolis 27. And this was a fun game.
Very.
Joe Mixon with 30 carries. Are you serious?
And he looked great.
That's
the best part.
Looks spry, Joe Mixon.
Did. That offensive line, I thought, did a decent job. There were a lot of sacks for Indianapolis. There might have been a little bit of Stroud holding the ball a bit too long. But I think this Texans team is good all the way around. Think about the plays they gave up, where these just big plays, these bombs downfield with Anthony Richardson's bionic arm. It's crazy. He was 9 of 19. I think his ADOT was like 15 yards. I have it right here. His ADOT today, 16.4 yards.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah. Bryce Young was second with 12.6. That's weird. Anyway, Anthony Richardson's a total cheat code. He's awesome. But I don't know if we should count on him having a bunch of bombs every week that are going to carry him for fantasy. It'd be nice if he could actually play like a standard quarterback and then run like a maniac.
You can't stop him. He's insane. He's one of the most interesting quarterbacks because, my God, does he make some bad throws. But his interception, the guy was wide open. He overthrew him. It's just terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But he's insane. Does anybody's value, because there were some pretty eye-opening performances. Pittman was horrible. You get the very even split in targets amongst the Texans receivers. Jonathan Taylor, like I said, didn't have a target. Anybody's
no one drafted Jonathan Taylor expecting 4 targets a game.
I'm sorry, Dave. I didn't say 4 targets a game. I said he had 0 targets. And he didn't have
no one was drafting him expecting him to be a factor in the passing game, I guess is what I should have said.
No, but I'd like 35 to 40 catches.
They threw 19 passes.
All
right. They had the ball for 20 minutes.
Miami 20, Jacksonville 17.
Jacksonville ran 50 offensive plays.
Well, what do you make of?
I'm just trying to put the context out there. Brian Thomas Jr. is like, when we change, how much did the odds change on Brian Thomas Jr. scoring more fantasy points than Malik Neighbors this year?
Yeah,
he might be wide receiver too.
I still don't see it happening.
It's the odds would change a little bit, but not a
'Cause
lot.
y-
What
the
did I have
thing-
it at? Plus 190?
That
Maybe
sounds
now
about
it's plus
right. Yeah.
175.
I think I had it plus 150 and Adam was like plus 600.
Right.
Like, Brian Thomas Jr. had 14.9 fantasy points on 21 Trevor Lawrence pass attempts.
And he could have had more.
And you know who led the team in receiving?
Gabe.
Gabe Davis. Absolutely. Now, let me ask you this. Are you worried? I'm going to lump two running backs in. Are you worried about ETN or Rachaad White? Because I said it at the top of the show. These are two guys where their backups were better than them as rushers today.
ETN, no. Rachaad White, a little.
Both of them are going like the thing I am writing this year is kind of a rankings risers and fallers with the view of like how I projected them this week versus next week.
Oh.
And both White and ETN will be ranked and projected lower. Tank Bigsby isn't terrible anymore.
Right.
They wanted to share the workload. They split it 50-50 in the run game, and Bigsby was a lot better. I don't think Bigsby's taking that job from ETN, but I do think there's a much bigger risk of a 60-40 split on the ground.
ETN did get the 1 yard touchdown or whatever. I think it was a 1 yard touchdown, but he also
fumbled at the 1 yard
Right.
line and cost him the game.
Right.
Yeah.
But I still don't think Bigsby is about to take that role from him, despite the fumble.
after his fumble, Bigsby had 5 carries and ETN had 3. What about, okay, let's talk about Achane and Mostert here. What are your thoughts?
Well,
Achane up a little, Mostert down a little.
That perfect.
Easy enough. Would you rather have Achane or James Cook?
Still Cook.
I think I'm going to say Cook. I'm going to say Cook.
But I might put Achane over ETN now.
I would not.
Minnesota 28 and the Giants 6.
I will take Achane over Devin Singletary.
And Aaron Jones.
What about Jefferson?
And Aaron.
I just a controversial take here.
Go ahead.
People are going to rave about Sam Darnold. I didn't really think he played that well. He did have good numbers, 19 of 24, 208 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. But I don't know.
These were graded as 2 of the worst secondaries in the NFL.
Certainly the Giants. And the pass rush was nowhere near him, which was disappointing. But, Jefferson, 4 catches, 59 yards, and a touchdown on 6 targets. They didn't have to throw much. They only threw 24 times. But do you come away with this encouraged, discouraged, neutral on Jefferson?
He's still great. Totally neutral. And I thought Darnold did what he needed to do. He made some good throws. The touchdown to Naylor I liked a lot.
I wish I need a button to move something from the private chat to the comments section. Thomas says, LOL, if Daniel Jones had Sam Darnold's day, I'd be like, hey, pretty good, huh?
I didn't think he was that good. I don't know. He was whatever.
Well, I think in fairness to people who are watching the game and praising him, everything happened, nothing happens in it. It's all in context. And so you're watching 2 people play the same position. And man, if these guys are both professionals, that one must be pretty good. He's a lot better than the other guy.
I used the word unprofessional to describe Daniel Jones today. I mean, he's just not playing. He's not playing the same position. I don't know what position he's playing, but it's not quarterback in the NFL. That's all right. What do you think about Aaron Jones here? You think sell high on Aaron Jones or let's keep it going?
If you can sell high on Aaron Jones, go for it.
I agree.
Would you sell him for Tank Dell?
I don't know if that's high enough. He does play the Niners and then the Texans next 2 games. Jets 2 games after that, and then a bye. I would want more than Tank Dell if I could have my druthers.
Okay, how about this? I know Heath wouldn't do this, but Dave, would you trade Aaron Jones for Malik Neighbors?
Yes. To get Neighbors? Yes.
Heath,
It's just so funny because I basically had them in the same spot on draft day.
Yeah.
So like I'm not lowering Malik Neighbors at all. He did exactly what I thought he was going to do.
You can try and make that trade, but I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't
Well,
think anybody.
you certainly cannot do it in any fantasy league or any fantasy analyst leagues, and you cannot do it if you're playing with best ball bros. But if you're just playing with normal people, absolutely you can get that deal done.
Try.
All right, Pittsburgh 18, Atlanta 10. We're going to talk about that when we come back.
Like Aaron Jones had a higher ADP at the end of the preseason.
The
We're going to talk about that when we come back on Fantasy Football Today.
Oh, no! What the heck, bro?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I just got this thing out the shop.
Hold on, let me get my insurance.
Hey, FFT?
Yep.
Jamie Eisenberg.
Yeah.
Hey, question for you.
Sure.
What do you think about Jackson Smith and Jigba as a wide receiver 3 in a 12-teamer this year?
Oh, wow. You know, he could actually be really good. He's got to get that role, but if he does, you're going to be really happy about that.
Nice. You know what? Don't even worry about it.
Okay. Yeah,
we might have
edit the commercial. Edit the commercial. What do you think about Tyler Lockett in that role?
Yeah, exactly. All right, Pittsburgh. All right, let's go 1 minute per game. Pittsburgh 18, Atlanta 10. Was that really the final score? Did they only score 10 points in this game?
6 field goals for the Steelers.
All right, believe it or not, George Pickens is going to have a huge season. 6 catches, 85 yards on 7 targets.
Believe it.
Believe it.
If we're comparing him to last year, I believe it.
Believe it or not, Kyle Pitts is not going to have a very good season.
So
crap.
Everything
Puka's
okay?
hurt.
Who's hurt?
Puka.
Oh, great. All right, don't talk about it. Well, don't talk about it. Keith, you've been trying to get this sentence out. You okay?
No, like Dave stumped me first when he said George Pickens might be good compared to last year, but not have a really big season. Because George Pickens had 1,100 yards last year.
I'm just thinking about his fantasy average. I think he can average more points than he had last season.
I didn't hear the other question.
Chicago 24, Tennessee 17. That's the other question.
Yes, Pitt's going to have a big season.
Buy or sell Calvin Ridley is very worrisome.
Buy.
I guess. Bye.
I don't.
It's a really good defense. It's a really good defense.
That's
He
why
was
I buy it then. So that's the thing. Like Hopkins is playing on a busted knee. Ridley had 7 targets. Levis could only get better. He can't be any worse than 127 yards. Maybe it's actually the underlying numbers are encouraging for Calvin Ridley and situation.
What are the underlying numbers?
7 targets. No competition from DeAndre Hopkins potentially because Hopkins is hobbled. And again, they threw for 132 yards against I don't care how bad Will Levis is. He's not going to throw for 132 yards.
I think you could make either case. I'm not moving. It didn't change my expectations at all. He's at the bottom of the blob.
Seattle 26, Denver 20. Buy or sell. Dave was actually right when he said Devon Vele was going to change people's minds at the end of our morning stream. What do you think, Dave? Devon Vele, he had 8 targets and 45. Oh, no, that's Josh Reynolds. He had 8 catches on 8 targets for 39.
I want to see how many of them came in the second half. No, he was pretty steady. 3 targets, 3 catches, 16 yards in the first half. He actually, no, that's it. Nothing special.
4.9 yards per carry is really, really good.
Per catch?
4.9 yards per carry.
Yards per catch.
4.9 yards per catch. Kind of stinks.
Okay, let's do it. Cortland Sutton one. Believe it or not, Cortland Sutton is droppable. 4 catches for 38 yards.
He had
but
12
targets.
Drop somebody that had 12 targets.
I'm not saying that I believe this. Just say it's not. He's not droppable. That's all.
You should not drop him, but you might be in a small league where he's your worst player. And you've got a chance to pick up Likely or something like that for your team. And then you let him go.
Yeah, believe it or not, believe it or not, from the guy who hit someone who rear-ended that guy, Jackson Smith and Jigba is droppable.
No.
All right. Go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 37 and Washington Commanders 20. Ooh, buy or sell. Or believe it or not, now's the time to sell high on Chris Godwin, who had 8 catches, 83 yards, and a touchdown on 8 targets.
No.
Definitely not.
All right, it was Washington, you know. I mean, this is the best of the best. This is
It's true. And he was up against a rookie corner.
He had a great game. It was encouraging to see.
Yes, he looked very good.
Okay. And let's go to the Chargers. We talked so much about the rest of that game. Chargers and the Raiders. Chargers 22, Raiders 10. How are we feeling about Zamir White right now, Heath? Zamir White had 13 carries. I think he fumbled. Yeah, he fumbled.
Feeling super bad about him.
Really?
I feel like Alexander Madison is at Alexander Madisoning him. He looked, now in fairness, Alexander Madison does have the hair coming out of the back of his helmet, so he makes him look like he's running faster than Zamir White. But he scored the team's only touchdown, and he was their clear passing down. Like, he was the guy they were throwing to, not Zamir White. And Zamir White was not good.
Zamir White, 13 carries, 44 yards.
Like, Pierce, I thought was really prepared to love him as a coach. How do you punt on 4th and 1 from plus territory with 7 minutes left in the game when you're down by a touchdown?
Yeah.
Because maybe he was expecting the Chargers to be super conservative.
That was one of the worst. Oh my gosh, that was terrible.
It was terrible.
Okay, wait. I have a good one. Rest of season, J.K. Dobbins or Zamir White?
Oh,
Zamir White.
I want it to be Dobbins.
Me too. But still.
Me 3.
Okay. Dallas 33, Cleveland 17. I do have to stress how bad the pass protection was for the Browns, but also
how bad the quarterback was.
How bad the quarterback was. Just terrible. All right. Believe it or not, Ezekiel Elliott is worth starting against the Saints next week.
Crap.
What, Jameson Williams?
Yep.
Yeah. 4% started. Believe it or not, Zeke is worth starting against the Saints next week.
Not.
I'd prefer not to.
No.
Believe it or not,
I think this will end up being what a good game looks like for Zeke.
Believe it or not, this was actually a good game for Jerome Ford. 12 carries, 6 catches, garbage time touchdown. Good game for him.
He had almost 20 yards on the last drive with the touchdown. The Browns offense just looked terrible all game long, Ford included.
That's true. But the positive I will say, I mean, first off, it was a good day from a fantasy perspective because he scored the touchdown.
Yeah,
but the positive was he had 18 touches. Pierre Strong had 4, and no other running back touched the ball.
Played. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
If it's going to be that type of split, and they're playing Jacksonville and the Giants and the Raiders and the Commanders in the next 4, I think things are going to be pretty fun for Jerome Ford.
The Cowboys do this. Remember last year, their game script, they had the worst game scripts. They had so many blowout wins and then some blowout losses too. Mel doesn't think that we talked about the Bucs enough. I disagree with that. We talked about Rashad White in a separate segment. We talked about Mike Evans versus Drake London. Maybe we could talk more about Baker Mayfield, but I didn't talk about them during that game recap, but I don't know, Mel. All right. Kate Otten, guys, pick him up. No, I think we covered it all.
They should have given Baker Mayfield a little bit more love.
All right, do you guys think Baker Mayfield's going to be top 12 option rest of season?
Week 2, yes.
Jameson looks okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good answer, guys. They're at Detroit next week.
No, he's going to flirt with top 12 moving forward.
So who are the bottom 5 quarterbacks in our consensus rankings preseason?
You mean in the top 12?
Purdy or Mayfield rest of season right now? Make a call.
Purdy.
Mayfield or Tua? Mayfield or Caleb Williams?
I'd say Caleb. What about you?
I'll take Mayfield there.
Mayfield or Stafford?
Mayfield.
Mayfield over Stafford, who also
I don't know
had
about
a
that
job today.
Goff or Mayfield?
Goff.
Oh,
Probably.
no. Schaefer's yawning. That can't be good. We've talked way too much about Baker Mayfield. That's the sign.
Mayfield or Darnold?
Well, at least Mel's happy.
Mayfield all right. Mike Evans or Justin Jefferson?
All right.
We got to go, everybody. We will talk to you on Beyond the Box Score on Monday. Thanks a lot. See you later.